Actually, let me just resize this. But yeah, so God, now I'm lost without about what to really talk about here. As I think we hear Nika in the background, but I hope everyone is doing
No
okay out
matter
there today.
how
Oh,
good your Yankees may be, the
you
best
came back
team
quick.
in
Oh
the
dear,
American League this
that's
year
what you left to
is
do.
on the south side of Chicago, my friend.
The one that has no fan base, you mean?
Outside of Chicago. Inside Chicago, the White Sox often outdraw the Cubs, but they have fans. The White Sox do not have fans outside Chicago for
Well, it's very
some ungodly
unfortunate for
reason.
them.
Yeah. But
But welcome back, by the way. Even though you're disgracing and this cast with that hat, but it's better than Red Sox. If
I
I
thought you
just want
might
to
think
say,
that.
if you were wearing a Red Sox hat, this would be the cam we would be seeing. Whoops. Now the num lock went off again. This would be the cam we'd be seeing for the rest of the show.
Okay.
Just me.
Well,
But anyway,
that,
back to
that
the
can be
story.
arranged.
So I get
Sure.
to Secaucus Junction. I go on to
Yeah.
the little computer terminal thingy. And then, I'd selected round trip because you can actually select where you're going. So you do New
Uh,
York Penn Station, right? You tick round trip. It was only about $8 to go
yeah.
from where Secaucus Junction to New York Penn Station, and the trip was only about 15 minutes. It probably would have been 5 minutes, but we got stuck. There's a certain part in the trip that this happened both going to and coming back, where the
Okay.
train stops for about 5 minutes.
All right.
So I'm guessing maybe it's a one-way track. They have to wait
Uh,
for traffic or whatever.
yeah.
Still faster than driving, that's for sure.
Sure. Sure.
But
I would
yeah, so
imagine.
we and then I so yeah, so and then I of course I was trying to find so bought the ticket and then I wandered around for a while trying to find out which platform I should go to.
Mm-hmm.
That brings me to my other point. So one of my coworkers, Danny, shout out to Danny, who just went back to Rutgers University campus, so he's not working for Staples anymore. For
Okay.
now, he may come back for the
Mm-hmm.
fifth time. But he has been. He's one of those fans, one who has been there 3 or 4 or 5 times in his life,
Yeah.
and he's only like 19 years old or something like that. So
Sure. Sure.
he's been going since he was a kid. So
Yeah.
I talked to him up to get his expertise, and he recommended an
Mm-hmm.
app called the Move It app, MOVIIT, I think. It's either
Okay.
one or two I's. They are
Right.
not a sponsor. We are not getting paid to shout them out. I was just
All right.
mentioning it because it was very helpful to my trip. Without that
Okay.
app, I feel like I would have taken the wrong train at least once.
Also, it's like a commuter app, tells you
Yeah,
trains
it
and
gives you
buses
more
and things like that.
details than like
Yeah.
Google Maps does.
Right.
It
Sure.
tells you what platform to get on, what
Okay.
time, actually, and very accurately tells you what time the
Good.
train is coming, too.
Yeah.
Like, I was surprised by the accuracy of that. Like, when it said the
Mm-hmm.
train was coming now, you could
Yeah.
see it coming in the distance.
Right.
So
Right.
I was like, that's pretty good. So, yeah, I would
Is
have
that
definitely got
an
lost.
app from the regional transit agency, or is that
No,
something?
I believe it's an
Okay.
independent app as far
Okay.
as I
Got
know.
it. Got it.
And I don't know if it's available, out there by you or if this is just an East
Right.
Coast thing or what it
Right.
is.
Right.
But that was what I used, and it
Yeah.
was good for both when I was on the MTA subway, which is, the New York subway
Right.
system,
Sure. Yeah.
and getting on the train. Now, we'll say the only good thing about choosing Secaucus Junction, even though it was a further drive and I might find a closer train station next time,
Yeah.
was that New York Penn Station on the
Yeah.
train to New York is the final stop on the route, and it's the
Okay.
only other stop. So Secaucus
Yeah.
Junction is the second to last stop, and the New
Right.
York Penn Station's the last
New
stop.
York
So
Penn Station.
I
Yeah.
only had to be
Yeah.
on there for one stop. Impossible to get lost, right?
Yeah.
And then coming home, Secaucus Junction was the first stop.
Sure. Sure.
So
You
from New
you
York
told
Penn,
me
of
some
course.
you told me some very sad news about Penn Station, and that it's not the same Penn Station that I remember from the
Yeah,
90s.
no, they built a few years ago, and I don't know all the details. I only know it's not
Yeah.
the original, but there is a
Which
new
is
Penn
yeah.
Station that
Yeah.
it's nothing pretty, but
Right.
it is built. It is good at what it does, which is moving
Sure.
people around. As
Right.
being a hub
Yeah.
for you to go from one place in New York to another. It's very good at that, and it's very well organized if you
Yeah.
know where you're going. Of course, I had
Yeah.
no clue where I was going, so I still managed to get lost.
The old Penn Station, as I remember, was a classic piece of architecture, and a very interesting place with a ton of character. I have some stories to share brief stories to share about that
Well,
later. So
unfortunately, the new one's nothing special. I remember when I
yeah.
got off, and one of the first things I saw was a homeless person sitting against the wall, looking all sad and collecting his change. The
Oh, okay.
second
So
thing I
that's
saw
that.
was a big
Yeah.
puddle of rainwater sitting on the floor, and I was like, "Oh, this is quite the welcoming committee."
Well, see, so it has some of the characteristics of the old Penn Station. Then that's good, or
Not the good
whatever.
ones, though. Not the good ones.
Actually, that might have been one of the good ones. I hate to tell you.
What, the homeless people? Not
Uh,
that we should be laughing about homeless
no,
people.
no,
It's pretty
not laughing
sad,
about the
but
homelessness, but what I'm talking about is the character of Penn Station, the old Penn Station. There you saw,
leaky
sadly, a
roofs.
lot of that. At least I did on the day, and also I was almost in the midst of a gun battle.
Oh dear. Well,
Yeah,
let's not get into that because
right.
there was someone who was just shot like yesterday outside of Penn Station.
I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I just saw it on the news because for some reason, ever since I
Well,
came back from the trip, YouTube has been showing me a whole
yeah,
bunch of clips of everything from New York. So I
interesting,
don't know. I
interesting.
don't know. What
Yeah,
does that tell you? Google knows that I went to New York, so it's like you
yeah.
want that New York news, right?
I was at Penn Station waiting for my train to Secaucus. Interestingly enough, and
I wonder if it's the original Secaucus station or if it's a newer one than when you went.
yeah, I wouldn't know, but and I decided to come out of the station. I was still smoking at the time. I came out to
Bad
light a
one.
cigarette, and I bought the most expensive pack of cigarettes I'd ever bought in my life at the time, which was like $8.50, I think, in New York.
Those are
That
the
was
cheapest ones now.
well. See, yeah, I realize that now. Why do you think I quit?
Well, good
And
for you, Juan. It's good for your
and
health. Don't
and
smoke,
and
folks.
and
It's bad for you.
yeah. And as I came out of the station, I looked one way and I put the cigarette, in my mouth and was about to light it. And I happened to look the other way and I see this commotion down the street. And there's like, there's a guy and a woman. They're fighting with one another. Then two other guys get involved. And then all of a sudden I saw the flash of what only could have been a gun. And then all of a sudden two plainclothes New York cops ran to the scene and just kind of like tackled everybody. It was
Everybody?
everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they didn't know who it was, I guess.
Apparently, and I just kind of shook my head, lit my cigarette, said, "I'm in New York."
Well, I did see a guy who got arrested when I was there in Penn Station. I just
Uh,
so happened to look back behind me, and there was
yeah,
this shirtless guy that had two cops holding him by the arms, and of course he was squirming, trying to get away, and the
yeah,
cops just kept walking and dragging him. And
uh-huh,
behind them, there was a cop with a canine dog. So if I were that guy,
yeah,
I wouldn't have been trying to get away because if you get away from the cops, they're just gonna take the canine off his leash and say, "Go get
Eh,
him, boy, sick
yeah,
him."
exactly.
And yeah,
Lunchtime.
and you can't outrun a canine dog, that's for sure.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
So you should be lucky you have two cops holding on to
Yeah,
you and not the
yeah,
dog.
yeah. I
But
also at that old Penn Station got into a debate. We'll call it a debate with someone at a pizza stand about the merits of Chicago deep dish versus New York style
oh
pizza.
dear, I'm sure they love that.
Oh, they did. They said, yeah, this is the best pizza in the country. And I said, no, 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 no. You're
Now that
talking
would
to a
be New
Chicagoan.
Jersey one. New Jersey has
And
the
this
best pizza.
and we went back and forth over, it's like you guys don't put enough tomato sauce. In fact, you don't put any tomato sauce on. That's just like a big slice of soggy cardboard with cheese on it. Come on. That's not a real pizza. What are you talking about? You Chicagoans, you mean like it's nothing but like 5 inches of crust. You call it deep dish, and a deep it's just fat crust. It was
God,
fun.
cool.
It was a blast.
That's
I
good.
love getting in debates with New Yorkers. That was one of my favorite things whenever I would visit.
They're
I would,
stubborn though, those New Yorkers.
oh, I love it. I love it. Because it's
They're
like
just as
I
stubborn as
used to have
Italians.
call this sixth gear that I would say for New York, because you don't get that, you didn't get that as much in Chicago. But in New York, it's on wherever you go. I loved it. I had every time I went to New York, it was a blast.
Gotcha.
I
But
miss it.
anyway, so I got on the train, and then it was on that train that I learned why they called things wind tunnels. Because after
Yeah.
we got stopped, and maybe I'll try and load up in a minute. I don't know if I know I got some footage on the train, not very
Okay.
good footage, mind you,
Yeah.
because for some reason all the windows on the trains look like they hadn't been cleaned in about 20 years.
They probably hadn't
With
been.
the amount of fingerprints on there, honestly, I was scared to put my phone camera up to it.
I
It
don't
might
blame
get
you.
a virus. The
Yeah.
phone might get a virus from the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I ended up doing it because it was the only way you could see out the window because it was that
Yeah.
dirty, was to do it. But let's see. I'm gonna try and queue up. Now I got to remember. I gave everything too similar naming, Juan. So now I got to remember which is which. All right. So this is the one I was on here. All right. Just bear with me here. But yeah, we're gonna do that, and then also maybe I'll try to find my wind tunnel video. And I don't know how good the camera picked it up. Because this phone is not known for its good video quality.
Oh, well, that's okay. As long as we were able to get the gist of it, that's the key thing.
Yeah, let's see. I gotta try to find it. Just bear with me there. Feel free to talk while I'm doing this.
Okay. Speaking of video footage, one of the things that I regret, and I can't remember where I left this footage, but I had some video footage that I shot on a Hi8 camcorder back in the 90s when I visited New York one time. I was in
Okay, I think I
Manhattan.
found it here. Hold on. I
Okay,
don't know if we're
good.
gonna get any
Good.
video. I don't know if we can get any audio because I'm not hearing any audio. Are you?
Okay. I'm not.
Might not even have picked up anything. But this was basically, you could kind of see it's kind of dark out the window. And we're
Uh-huh.
going through a basically an underground tunnel here. I'm pretty sure
Right.
this is underneath the Hudson River at this point.
Okay.
And you could just feel the instant we went into that tunnel, you could just feel the air rushing,
Uh-huh.
through you,
Sure. Sure.
like rushing at you. And I was like, wow, I'm
Yeah.
in an actual wind tunnel.
What?
And that
Yeah.
was a very short clip because you could see it's over already.
Was this your first time in one of those trains going,
This is
under the
my
river
first time
into the city?
also. So there was a lot of firsts that day. One,
Oh,
it was my
okay.
first
Yeah. Yeah.
time, taking any, professional train, paying, passenger train. I've been on
Right.
a couple museum trains that my grandfather took me to
Okay.
because we both used to build train sets, so we got a little
Ah.
bit into the train
Cool. Cool.
nostalgia.
Yeah.
If Art's not here, I should message him because he would love this part.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
But
Absolutely.
I also
Exactly what I was
almost
thinking.
forgot to skip over. I skipped over the part. The funny part was before I got on the train. So I finally found what platform I was supposed to go on. I asked a guy, I think, who was on his break, poor guy,
Uh-huh.
where I should go. And luckily, I was right next to the door to the right
Yeah.
platform. So he's just like, "Oh, just go through those doors." So you got the door, and the platform takes you outside. And this part I know I have video of, so I will
Right.
pull
Okay.
that up here in a second.
Sure.
I will show
Sure.
you this, what the actual platform of where I was standing was, and then I'll
Yeah.
also point out what happened, because I was on the outdoor platform,
Mm-hmm.
and then the train, there's like a little tunnel that goes basically underneath the building
Okay.
with a platform in there, and the train went in there to stop. So we had to go
All right.
running after it.
Yeah.
Let's see. That much I know is in here somewhere, because I remember I saved this one and set it
Mm-hmm.
aside. This it here should be coming up. I know it's a little small. I'll blow it up. But this is
All right.
the train platform that I was on. And you could see in that tunnel right there. Let me kind of replay it here. When we get to about right there, it goes so quick.
Yeah. Okay.
Replay. I'm going to pause it, and then I'm going to fast forward it to the spot. So you can kind of see around the station there. I'm standing outdoors.
Okay. I'm not seeing it on the screen yet, but that could be because of the
Oh, I got to do the
delay.
transition. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
See
okay.
what
All right.
happens when I'm in studio mode? I forget about these things.
All
All
right.
right, so I'll play it again for you. Hold on, from beginning. So this is the platform that I'm on. I'm outside, right? And you can see that. And then right there, there's a tunnel. Again, I'll kind of play it again and get it to that point. You can see it now, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not seeing it yet.
Oh, OBS, I'm going to kill you. So are you still just seeing Zoom, or?
I'm just seeing our two shot. Wait, I just refreshed my screen. Maybe I need to do that. Okay, now I'm seeing it. Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah,
I
see,
need to do
mine is laggy too, but
Yeah.
oh well. But anyway, we'll continue on. So you can see I froze it right now at the spot where the froze it. You see the little tunnel right there? I
Oh,
forgot I had
sure.
a
Yeah.
touch screen for a second.
Yeah.
But right there, the train goes in there. And I'm standing. I'm going to
Yeah.
replay the video once again for you so you can see it. So this is the platform where I'm at. You can see it. There's an outdoor platform
Uh-huh.
here, which is where I'm standing. The train goes zooming past, and I have a video of that. Goes right in there. So I'm going to start chasing after it, get up to it,
Uh-huh.
and then just hop on the first open door I see and be like,
Yeah.
let's see, I'm going to change out that video to the one where the train actually comes in. And
Okay.
Art's going to miss this. I took this footage just for him. I was trying to get footage of the actual train and the subways as they were pulling in, but then I
Mm-hmm.
became too focused on making sure I got on the right train.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to be more focused on trying to make sure I get on the right train rather than actually capturing the train.
That's kind of understandable under the circumstances.
But like, I won't be getting to New York if we take the
Yeah,
wrong
exactly.
train.
That's the goal.
Let's see. I had these all fully prepared, and now I'm having trouble finding everything. Maybe I wasn't as well prepared as I thought, huh?
That's okay. This is all very free form. So
Let's see. We thought this was a professional radio station. You thought wrong. Da, 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 da.
you get what you paid for.
Paid. I didn't know we charged for these tickets.
You didn't see the turnstiles and the ticket takers at the entrance?
Man, where's the revenue coming in from this? I want a
Hey,
piece of the
you're
pie.
running the place. You should be in charge. You should know this stuff. Now.
I didn't approve the work order for the turnstile,
Oh,
so
see, well, okay, all right. You better talk to your CFO then, whoever that is.
that would also be me.
Okay,
It's a one-man show over here.
gotcha.
Well, not anymore. Now it's a five-man show.
Yeah.
Oh well, I give up. I was going to try and show you. I know it's here somewhere, but I can't find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was one I had of the train actually pulling in to Secaucus Junction.
Uh-huh.
And I'm so mad I can't find it because I had this all right there.
Yeah.
But what can you do sometimes? But anyway, just moving on with the story. So anyway, just the train ended up basically going down the tracks past where we were standing right into that tunnel. There's a little platform in there. So me and the other couple that was waiting on the outside platform, because they obviously have been there about as many times as me, which is none. And so we're going, get there all out of breath.
Yeah.
But anyway,
did you make the train? Is the question.
Yeah, we made the
you
train.
Did make
made
it,
the
okay.
train by a mile because that thing stops for like 3 minutes. In fact, I remember
Okay.
I sat on the train for about 3 minutes. It's not like the subway. The subway, you get like a minute and a half, and you're either on the train or you're not because it ain't waiting for you.
Or you're watching it go off in the distance.
Well, it's funny. It's amazing how efficient the New York subway system really is. Like, when you look at the timetables, they're pretty much spot on to where it comes and arrives. And that's because they don't waste no time. Like, I'm pretty sure everything's at the doors or on a timer. Pull up to station, you got X amount of time, those doors stay open, and they don't stay open a second longer than they're allocated to. And there's just a little automated voice that comes on that says, please stand clear of the closing doors. And those doors, they go... they ain't slow. They just close. I always wondered what happened if someone's standing right there. Do they have like a sensor where they open back up, or do they just slice you in half and be like, oh, well, shouldn't have been in the,
I don't
in the
know
middle of the
about the
closing
New York
doors.
system, but on the elevated trains and subways in Chicago, the doors will immediately reopen if they're blocked by what the sensors assume is a person. So I would imagine New York probably has the same sort of system, their trains.
But I also remember watching, there was a guy who was kind of halfway in the door and halfway out when the announcement came over, and he moved in, and I think he had a backpack, and like a small part of the backpack was still in the door, and it still just closed anyway. I was like, what if that had been his hand? Bye-bye hand.
Unfortunately, now see, this was a commuter train versus like a subway or L. In Chicago years ago, there was an incident similar to that on one of the commuter trains, and it was a young violinist on her way to class at Northwestern University, and she lost her arm.
Oh, wow.
So so
now,
it might
I
be the commuter trains don't have those kinds of sensors even now, which is shocking.
There must be a sensor on the subway. Imagine there have to be, otherwise you would be having lawsuits of people getting, caught indoors and dragged down the tracks.
I would imagine, like I said, the New York subways are probably like the Chicago subways in that they have those sensors, because I've been bounced by those doors. I'm running to get in, and you put what you do is you stick your hand in, and the doors open up. I mean, like almost instantly. They don't just shut
I
on
wasn't
your hand,
chancing
and
that
you go sliding down the tracks. Those doors will open immediately.
Here's the other thing I'll say about the subway. So my friend Danny, or coworker Danny, former coworker Danny, whatever we're calling him, but he also warned me that you want to hang on when you're in the subway, because when they start to move, they move.
Yeah.
And when they stop, they stop.
Yeah.
Like, it's no gradual. It's not like a car where it's a gradual stop. No. It's just, and
you are at the mercy of the laws of physics at that point.
You were basically, and I almost wish they put seatbelts in those subways, because there ain't any, and those stops are like very sudden. It's just like, boop, 1 minute you're moving, the next second you're not. So I remember the first time I was in there and I was hanging on, and my body was still like, and it's funny, you could tell the people who ride them regularly, because they don't even hang on anymore. Like, they know roughly when the train is getting ready to stop, and their body is just prepared to counter the motion. You know what I mean?
I used to ride the subways and L's in Chicago all the time, so you do get used to that rhythm.
And there was even an old guy who I'm pretty sure was, homeless, because on the ride back, this same guy was on one of the subways I was on, and waving the little cup for change. But on the ride there, he didn't have his cup, but he was in the subway car. He paced back and forth like 3 times. Then he actually, while the train was still moving at full speed, opened the back door and walked across the train cars to the next car. And I was like, I was in literal shock, Because I was like, is this guy crazy? What happens if you slip? You're going right underneath the train, and
Oh,
you're dead.
I used to do that all the time, Brandon, as a kid. Even I mean, it's you get used to it. I relied on public transportation in Chicago. You get used to that. You do. This was the first time for
It
you.
just seemed
For
crazy
us
to me.
veteran riders of the system, no big deal.
It's still risky though.
So
Think
yeah, it
about
is. I
that.
lost a pair of glasses
Your
once
foot
in the
fall.
wintertime.
Your all it takes is one, and and bear in mind you're in a tunnel underground. It's not very
Yeah,
well lit, so
yeah.
outside the subway is dark, right? So you
But
can't see a damn thing.
if you know the trains, if you're used to the trains, it becomes second nature. It's no honestly, it's
I
no
guess
big
it's
deal.
like moving in your house without
Yeah,
any
it is.
lights
It
on.
is.
You
It
know
is.
where
Yeah.
everything is, and that's
And
why
I
you don't walk
suspect
into
that
anything.
guy probably was used to it. Is
Oh, I
used to
think
it.
he's a subway rider. I honestly
Sure,
think
sure,
he
absolutely.
hops,
Yeah,
he rides one subway to the end of the line, hops
yeah.
on another
Oh yeah,
subway, and
yeah.
rides that one to the end of the
I used
line.
to see that occasionally in Chicago. You knew these guys were just riding the train to the. In fact, sometimes if I was on a train to the end of the line,
And I'm guessing they're
I
not
would get
paying
off,
either.
and there were some guys who would just remain on the train. Sometimes, a motorman or conductor would get on and shoo them off. Other times, they would just let them be because they knew they're just riding, and
They
sometimes
ain't
they would
hurting
just let it.
nobody.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time, they're harmless.
But I have a feeling that this guy was not paying for the subway ticket.
Well, no, he wasn't.
But you know what? I bet you if the New York City Metro Police Department tried to ticket every single person who didn't pay for a subway ride, they'd probably run out of ticket books
Before the end of the day.
before the end of the day, and they would
Yeah,
also run out of cops to
yeah,
write said
exactly,
tickets because their
exactly.
hands would all be ready to fall off.
Sure, sure, yeah.
Oh man. I didn't see a single Metro cop the whole time I was there either, so you know.
Interesting. Yeah. And not even at the stadium or near the stadium?
There were plenty of cops by the stadium.
Sure.
They had
Yeah.
though when I got I didn't even get to that part yet, but I meant to say so we finally get to Penn Station. I get off,
Mhm.
and like I said, there is one thing I'm greeted. Now I think I may have been to Penn Station before. Don't remember what for. Don't remember how. But I
Right.
definitely never took a train from there. But for some reason,
Okay.
the first part of Penn Station that I saw when I got off of that train just
Mhm.
reminded me of something from like 5 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe it was with like some school field trip or something, or maybe we were dropping
Sure.
somebody off somehow. I
Sure.
don't remember, but it was
Sure.
familiar because there was a bike rack that was like there,
Okay.
and then you had two
Yeah.
pillars, and you had to
Uh-huh.
walk around the bike rack, and
Uh-huh.
I just remember there like that exact same image was in my brain
Mm.
prior,
Okay.
and I don't remember
Yeah.
how. Maybe my brain
Right.
just playing mind games. But anyway, so get there, you go into there's a little machine, and
Mm-hmm.
you put your card in or you put your cash in, and you do a single ride, which is only
Yeah.
$3, and this single ride
Okay.
card is good
Yeah.
for 2 hours.
Okay.
Because I was gonna pay, because my friend Danny had recommended that I pay for both the card going to and from,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought from what he told me that you just buy a little prepaid card, you put like
Yeah.
$6 on it, and you just
Right.
swipe it through the thing. That's
Yeah.
apparently not how it worked, or it has changed since the last time he did it, because
Mm-hmm.
you get this little flimsy little paper card that you
Mm-hmm.
buy, and it's good for
Yeah.
2 hours, and it says it in big bold lettering right there on the screen. This will only work for 2 hours. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'm only going to be able to go pay, going to there for now, because I'm definitely not going to be going to an entire Yankees game and back in 2 hours.
And not in 2 hours. No.
It'll take you an hour just to get there.
Sure.
But anyway, so do that. Then I wandered around for a while trying to find the right platform. Just
Mm-hmm.
barely made it, like, because I was
Mm-hmm.
following on the app. I got there, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it said there was 5 minutes to the next subway.
Yeah.
Right, so wandered around by the time I finally found the right platform I was supposed to go to, it was
Yeah.
like, your train is arriving now. I'm like, oh dear. Oh dear Lord, because I went like at this point I knew where I was going, but I was still far to get to the actual
Yeah.
platform. So I'm like
Yeah.
booking it, like down the
Mm-hmm.
hallway, like. And also I was surprised by how many people are in New York Penn Station. I was like, can I get a map of the crowds?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're at the mercy of the crowd in there, honestly.
Oh, of course.
Like
Yeah.
there's a flow, and there's not a constant flow. Like there's a flow of some people going this way, but at the same token,
Mm-hmm.
there's also people constantly going against the flow. So
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
which way do I go? Do I go with this group of people? Do I follow
Yeah.
this group
Yeah.
of people? And I just remember thinking to myself, I just got in the middle of a pack and just kept going, basically. I look back and people were all
Yeah.
going in the same direction. So it
Yeah.
was amazing to me, that you just
Hmm.
have to just go with the flow of the people around you and hope that they
Right.
know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if it's your first time too, that can be a little dangerous because you could get caught up in the wrong flow, and the next thing you know, you're headed back to Secaucus rather than
Yeah,
heading to Yankee
exactly.
Stadium.
Well, if I could make one suggestion to the people of the Move It app, if they ever hear this, which I doubt they
Yeah,
will, but if you're a BGRN listener or you come across this on YouTube, can you put it? Can you maybe get people to map out New York Penn Station and give you step-by-step directions to the platform? That's the only way they can make it easier.
not a bad
That'd
idea.
probably be too much money, though.
It depends. It depends. Depends.
But that's
Maybe.
if I could make a suggestion, if you know how if you ever use Google Maps and you need to walk somewhere and it gives you the
Yeah.
little dots of how to get there. That's what I
Right.
was hoping it would have would be like, okay, you walk from
Yeah.
here, you walk up there, and you go there. Because there was one time where I think it said platform D, and I'm looking at
Yeah.
the signs and there's two platform Ds. There's like one for like West New York and one for East
Hmm.
New York, and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, I hope I picked the right D platform, otherwise I'm gonna end up in Queens instead of the
Yeah.
Bronx.
Right. Exactly.
Thankfully, I ended up picking the right one.
Yeah.
And then, got on there. And that was the other thing. The subway cars, they only have this one tiny little screen on each car that tells
Yeah.
you what the subway is. So,
Okay.
like, you're looking the whole time, and I'm like, oh, dear God, I hope this is the right subway. But at that point, you look at it, you look at the app, you just have to hop on and hope for the best. That's what I
Yeah.
discovered.
Sure. Sure.
And the thing is, once you're in the subway, there's no getting out because you're in the
Yeah.
you're in the packed subway car and you're not able to move really. So,
Sure.
in fact,
Yeah.
on the subway there, I just barely made it because, like I said, it was already in the station by
Hmm.
the time I got to the platform. So then I
Yeah.
just like quickly got in there and I was like the last person in the car and I'm like
Hmm.
standing 2 inches from the door.
Yeah.
Like, it closes, whoosh, train goes and I almost fell over and I'm like
Oh
grabbing the
boy.
pole for dear life.
Yeah.
And oh
Yeah.
man, I clearly look like an outsider because I was holding onto the pole for dear life even when the train wasn't stopping,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh God, please don't
Yeah.
stop. But
Yeah.
yeah, cool thing about the app as well is that it also tells you all the stops pretty accurately of the train.
Okay.
So it was able to tell me what stop I should get off, every stop, what stop you're currently on. Now, I also
Hmm.
discovered that T-Mobile cell reception is not good in subway tunnels because you would only get a signal when you were when you pulled up to a platform.
Right.
Second you left the platform, no service.
I
So
wonder. I think Verizon has a contract with the New York Transit System, and their cell service does work in the tunnels. I believe I remember hearing that some time ago.
But I mean, I couldn't complain because this app was still pretty accurate, and I got off on there. So anyway, I took
Sure.
the subway. The first subway took about 20 minutes with all the stops.
Uh,
So then I got off at the right spot, and then this is where things got even more confusing because I was thinking, okay, you get off of one subway, you wait 5 minutes in the same spot, and the next subway comes. No, 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 no. You gotta like climb up a set of stairs and go to a different platform right down the end of the block. You know what I
okay.
mean?
Yeah.
So then thankfully again the app tells you this stuff, but it doesn't tell you how to get there.
I see.
So I got off on the first subway, went to um, basically there was like a set of stairs. Went up
Uh-huh.
the stairs, and then I forget. I think I had to walk very briefly down the street and to the next subway
Right.
entrance. And there
Okay.
was the next train I took. Now this
Yeah.
train is what they call well, it's not officially called this, but I've heard it's been nicknamed the baseball train.
Okay.
This train goes basically its last stop is the
Yeah.
what they call the New York, again unofficially, it's the
Right.
Yankee subway station. Un-
Okay.
officially I believe it's the 51st Street. I think no, 451st. I don't know. I can't even
Okay.
remember what the damn thing is called. But look up
Right.
Yankee subway station. It comes right up. It's like right across the street from Yankee Stadium. And So I hopped on that subway. That only took 5 minutes because. Oh, did you want something? Did you have something to say? Ready?
No, she was just. I think had stepped away for a bit, and she was wondering if I was calling to her.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, glad you're still listening. Ready?
I just downloaded the Move It app, and I'm looking at it, and of course it's showing me local transit information. It's got there are a couple of bus routes that go down Linda Vista Road, which isn't too far away from here, and also Genesee, and shows all the bus stops. Pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah, it
cool.
is a pretty cool thing. Shows more
Yeah.
information than you can get on Google. Maybe you can get
Yeah.
ready to download it. There you go, Move It. You already got one download.
Yeah.
You're not sponsoring us, but if you want to send us, a little thank you check, I won't complain. Just email bgradionetwork12@gmail.com. I'll tell you the address of where to send it.
The only thing is, I downloaded it on my Samsung phone, which is not a phone these days. It's just a tablet. I'm going to see if there's an iOS version.
I'm sure there is.
This is the active phone I'm using. I'm sure there is too. Let's find out.
But yeah, it's a pretty good app. I definitely would have gotten lost without it. I still almost got lost with it. But I feel like I definitely would have had no clue where to go without it. So definitely, if you're traveling somewhere new for the first time, you're not familiar with, the mass transit systems, download this. It's pretty damn accurate. It was, like I said, it was accurate almost down to a T. The arrival times, the departure times, the stops in between. There was a couple of stops that it said was there that didn't exist.
Right.
But aside from that, it was pretty spot on. I got to say I was very impressed with the accuracy of the information.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like it is already. I mean, just from the preliminary scanning I did. So it's picked up on all the local, the nearby public transportation options.
And it knows, and it gives you multiple options to choose from as well, not just one. And it tells you pretty accurately as well how long that takes to get there. Now, I think it didn't miscalculate initially the time it took the first subway to get there. But, that's fine. It's not going to always be 110% accurate, But I was surprised.
Debbie's giving me crap for using to use her words, a shitty iPhone.
I agree with that sentiment. Anyway, getting back to the baseball stories here, because we did kind of get off track here, but that's story time for you. It wouldn't be a story time show if we didn't get off track at least once, now would it? Let's see, now where was I? I think I was at the part where I was on the subway going to Yankee Stadium now. Yeah, so anyway, so it was a very short trip on the subway, and that subway was the only subway I knew I was on the right subway, because half the train had Yankee stuff on. So I knew I was on the right train.
Yeah.
Not as many as on the way back. On the way back, like 99% of the train had all Yankee stuff on. I was like, yep, I'm on the right subway.
Yeah.
Just follow the crowd of Yankees fans. That's how you'll know you're on the right subway.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was so funny. We'll get into what I experienced not on that subway, but the one that I had to take to get back to, to get to the train back to Jersey a little bit later.
Right.
But anyway, so I take the subway there, and it was funny because I knew we were about to arrive because I looked out the window on the subway, and surprisingly, that window looked like it had been cleaned in the last 20 years, With as many people that ride those subways, I wasn't expecting it to be as clean as it was, but it was. Kudos to MTA. You do a better job than NJ Transit at cleaning your windows, if it means anything to you. But, I looked out the window, and you could see Yankee Stadium right there. Like, we came out of this tunnel, and right there was Yankee Stadium, and then you stopped at the platform, you got off, and you could still see the stadium right there. And I remember the first thing and this really stood out to me, is that in New York is how many street vendors there are just selling stuff. Like, I got off on the platform, and immediately there was a guy standing right there, Yankees hats, get your Yankees hats, only starting at $10. I was like, I already got one, but thank you. And when I was leaving the stadium later, there was a street vendor yelling out to the crowd of Yankees fans leaving the stadium, "Buy ice cold water, only $1. Ice cold water, only $1." I'm guessing they must have bought too much water, and now they were just trying to get a little bit of their money back. Because I'm sure at $1 they were taking a loss.
Sure, sure.
But I'm
Yeah,
like, $1 is still
yeah,
better than losing $3,
yeah.
So, but yeah, it was funny how many street vendors are there, and it makes you wonder: do all of those street vendors really have a license to be selling stuff in New York City? Though that's a
Outside
whole
the
nother
park,
story.
no. You can I guarantee you, outside the park, probably half those vendors actually have licenses to sell their wares. I guarantee the guys selling the bottled water don't. They're just guys from the neighborhood who bought up some bottled water
Well, I
at the
don't know. Those
local
guys might have had a
supermarket,
permit because
and
there was 1,000 NYPD like outside the stadium.
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They position themselves in a way so that they're not seen. That this is your first time to a ballpark. Having been to both ballparks in Chicago for since I was a kid, I've seen how these guys operate, and some you can tell after you've been to a ballpark for a while who the legitimate vendors are versus the local guys who are just independents, just kind of doing things
Independent.
because yeah, who kind of fell into some merchandise one way or another and decided to sell it to
Then
fans
again, you
outside
might
of
be
Wrigley
right about
Field.
these guys because if I remember, and again, I wasn't paying that much attention to them. I just remember, and again, this is another one of those where you're going with the flow of like the
Sure, sure,
pedestrian
yeah,
traffic, like everybody's all going in one direction and you just walk with them,
uh-huh,
basically. So I
yeah,
just remember we were walking past, and I just remember looking at them, and they were like, and shouting out to everybody about the $1 water. But so I wasn't paying them too much mind, but I think they
yeah,
might have just had a water cool, like your run of the mill water cooler that you take to like a picnic or something that
uh-huh,
they were keeping
sure,
the water in.
sure,
So
sure, yeah,
I'm
yep,
gonna
yep.
guess if they've been standing out there a while, that ice cold water probably wasn't ice cold anymore. It's probably just cold.
More than likely not. Yeah.